I didn't mean to end 3 careers before lunch, but I did. The third one was an accident, and weirdly that's the one that still won't shut up in my head. If you want the short of it, I hit send on something that was supposed to stay inside a wall. The room went dead except for the AC buzz, and a grown man asked, "Are you recording this?" Like we were on a courtroom show. I wasn't. I was just done. Throwaway for obvious reasons. Imagine the corporate version of a wedding centerpiece. Glossy, overpriced, top-heavy. That's the company. The kind of place where stale conference room coffee is a currency and buzzwords are a dialect. My job lived somewhere between project wrangler and ghost storyteller for clients who spend too much to be told they're brave. My boss, call him Leon, said, narrative fidelity, so often it felt like a spell. He also sent me inspiration, that was literally my old work with a fresh file name. I only knew because of a typo I make when I'm tired, mixing up discrete and discrete. He repeated it like a fingerprint he didn't know he'd stolen. So no, it didn't take a big spark. Piles of dry kindling light fast. Morning call with a client whose COO likes to ask trick questions with a friendly smile that says he collects careers. Night before, Leon forwarded his memo, which was a stew of my past memos with copy-paste scars. I stayed quiet, chewing that metallic taste adrenaline leaves on your tongue. He referenced a case study that I lived for 6 months and said he piloted. He even messed up our internal nickname and rounded a number in a way you'd never do if you'd actually lived in the data. The COO sat back and asked, "Who owns this?" Problem, solution, accountability. Leon inhaled. I unmuted. I do. Then my name. Then, I built the pilot. I have notes. Saying notes is muscle memory for me. I keep receipts like a nervous habit. The notes sat in a folder stuffed with timestamps, sign-offs, and a recording where Leon told me calmly we'd ghost credit the pilot to him because it's cleaner for the narrative. I laughed at that back then like it was a joke because sometimes laughing feels safer than saying, that's theft. I walked the COO through exactly 3 changes that cut churn and the one we didn't make because legal said no. Proof? I can share the deck. Leon slid in with, we shouldn't share internal decks. COO, share them. Leon, let's take that offline. I didn't plan it. I dropped the deck into chat. Not the Frankenstein one. Original timestamps, authorship, even my dumb discrete/discrete typo sitting there like a neon arrow. He opened it instantly. You could hear leather shift. Who's Leon? He asked like he knew and wanted it on the record. My director, I said. Interesting, he said and bailed. Our side went ocean quiet. He droned. Leon said, I'll handle this, in the tone he uses when he's deciding where to aim blame. After the call, I went to tidy our shared repo because I clean when I'm anxious, and I found the wick that led to the first blast. Leon's personal folder wasn't personal, he'd shared it wrong. Inside, a reference letter template with a list of names mapped to potential employers. 2 juniors who left under a cloud were in there. The template was a masterclass in professional sabotage, lukewarm phrasing that looks objective and lands like a dead weight. Competent, but not a self-starter. Capable in the right environment. In our world, that's code for, do not hire. My name was there too, with a draft from 5 days ago. Strong writer, needs direction. I sat in an empty room and let the cold air slap me while I counted to 10 the way my therapist taught me back when I thought I was the problem that needed polishing. Why draft my reference if I hadn't quit? Why aim a half-smile knife at my back in advance? I took screenshots, captured metadata, exported folder permissions showing who could access what. I told myself it was insurance, not a weapon. We tell ourselves gentle stories about our teeth. Leon pinged me, quick sync in 10? The small conference room smelled like old carpet and dried marker. Thermostat set to January. He folded his hands like a TED Talk had taught him how. I need to understand why you undercut me, he said. You said those results were yours, I said. It's a team win, he said. You said I led 3 times, I said. He rolled out forest entries. Then casually, I've started drafting your reference because we might reconfigure the team next quarter. My body went cold hot. Who's involved? I asked like I was just collaborating. Just calibrating with HR, he said. Cool, I said. Do you want me to forward the original pilot files to the COO for full context? He stilled. No. That would introduce confusion. I smiled back his word. It would demonstrate fidelity. I stepped out and stared at my face under fluorescent honesty. I looked old and babyish at once. The look I get when I let someone treat me like I'm naive. Heart slamming. I sent the deck to the COO, CC'd their legal, and added a dry line, sharing original materials for context, happy to provide authorship statements for compliance. It wasn't about revenge. It was about putting the truth somewhere sticky. He replied 8 minutes later, received. Appreciate clarity. Then our account director dragged me and Leon into a call like a summer storm. Client wants to discuss authorship and continuity, she said. Have we misrepresented prior work? We have not, Leon said. Who led this pilot? She asked. I oversaw, he said. That wasn't the question, she said to him, then looked at me. I led it, I said. She nodded like she already knew and hung up. Leon messaged me, that was performative. Don't indulge it. Interesting instruction. Ignore your director to stay loyal to me. A trap dressed as guidance. I compiled authorship with dates, roles, sign-offs, and sent it to our account director and internal legal. I did not CC Leon. Process not petty. Within an hour, I was sitting with our account director and HR. HR was Maya, who handles paper like it weighs something. They asked me to walk through the work. Was your work misrepresented? It was presented as someone else's, I said carefully, because dramatics get measured with rulers in rooms like this. This isn't the first time, the director said. That hit like a surprise door. Patterns are louder than single complaints. I didn't plan to show the reference template, but I pictured that draft about me and imagined him sealing my exit with a 3-star Yelp review. I slid the screenshot across. Maya's face barely moved, just a micro-tightening at the date, 5 days ago. Are these the only names? The director asked. I read 2 others. Unexpected outcomes, she murmured. Maya said, this requires immediate review, and collected the pages the way a surgeon picks up a tool. 10 minutes later my calendar pinged with question, then follow-up. Finance friend texted, what did you do LOL? Which is how I learned compliance paused 2 billings tied to Leon pending clarity. Shutting off income is how you get a company's attention. The afternoon all hands arrived carrying thunder. The VP started with housekeeping and then cleaned house. Leon was on leave pending review of process irregularities. No one said my name. They said authorship clarity and account integrity. The room tilted. Someone whispered holy-ish and swallowed the rest. I felt heat and cold like standing in front of an open fridge after a run. Before anyone tries to knight me, hold up. The next blast wasn't righteous by design. It started a month back with June, an ops lead, the kind of smart that turns sharp after people walk on it. She'd asked why her analyst got blocked from an internal transfer. It smelled like backchannel punishment. We'd both seen redirected out used as a verb. I shrugged then. That's what people do when they're counting their own oxygen. After Leon was iced, Maya asked for any docs showing performance management being used without cause. There should be paper trails for real cases, warnings, goals, check-ins. Casual punishments are not policy, they're habit. I dug through my hoard and found a misnamed folder, client acronym on top, HR calibration notes inside. They shouldn't have been on that drive. One line under my name, creative, needs strong oversight, escalate if resistant to messaging shifts. Another under June's analyst, not culture fitting, deny transfer, coach out in 90 days. The date punched me. I packaged it and sent, found these in a misfiled folder. June pinged me, are you around? HR is pulling old cases, she said. My analyst denial is under review, retroactive. That hill in your stomach dropped, the good kind. I thought the old HR partner who wrote the notes would be the one to eat it. They already left. But the approval stamp on those notes belonged to our head of people. A quiet, careful memo later, she was transitioning out. That was the second blast. I didn't set out to blow her up, and I felt complicated about it because those notes had my name too. This machine had chewed me and also fed me sometimes. But seeing deny transfer and coach out listed like errands hit something tender I thought I'd armored. Trusting Maya while knowing HR had rot wasn't simple. She moved like someone who respects paper and risk, not optics. I still kept copies where only I could touch them. I've learned the hard way, trust, verify, then verify again. The third blast is the one I didn't mean. It requires admitting why I stayed under Leon as long as I did. He got me into rooms I couldn't enter alone. He could slip my work onto the right calendar. I traded slices of integrity for visibility and told myself it was the price of entry. Also, I was afraid. Once, 5 minutes before a pitch, he promised to cover the messy bit, and then lobbed it at me mid-sentence. I learned to prepare twice and anticipate betrayal like weather. That's how complicity grows, by getting good at surviving irresponsible people. Ria, friend on the client side, texted when Leon went on leave. He's done? Don't know, I wrote. We've raised concerns for months, she said. Our account director had hinted, but hearing it from across the aisle made the floor feel less imaginary. Come in-house, she said. I said I couldn't. She said I could. I told no one. A secret exit makes every move look self-serving even to yourself. 48 hours later we had a reset with the COO Ria and an interim lead. 2-line agenda, which is code for there's a novel behind it. I joined with camera off and a cup of coffee that went cold on contact because my body refuses heat when I'm waiting for impact. The interim lead laid out our path forward. The COO wanted sourcing clarified to ensure continuity, which translates to we're auditing your story. We nodded. Authorship included? He asked. Yes, the lead said. Was this isolated to Leon? He added, softer. The silence wore velvet. The interim lead arranged his face for a non-answer. Ria jumped in. We've seen sloppiness from a few edges. She glanced at my square like, are we doing this? She mentioned a concern about back-channel flagging to their team that described me as high output but unreliable without senior oversight. The wording matched the misfiled notes I'd sent to Maya. That back-channel almost smothered Ria's offer before it existed. The room shifted. The interim lead looked stunned. He asked who said it. Ria wouldn't name, but added it came from someone senior in our HR who was now gone. The COO's mouth did the tight thing executives do when they're filing a problem under must resolve. Any other names? The lead asked. Ria doesn't like knives, but she'll hold one if you force her. We've had escalations about misinformation from your program management lead, she said. Clark. A nice guy who makes you check your wallet after a handshake. Can we see an example? The lead asked. Ria dropped a PDF, program escalations _Q2. I downloaded out of reflex. Flipped pages. My fingers did what they always do, forward to my personal save folder. Except stress makes muscle memory stupid. My key mapping pre-filled the last compliance thread I'd used. Subject line still said, found these in misfiled folder. I pressed send without thinking because I was listening to the meeting. A second later Ria said, please keep that internal, and the little whoosh animation told me I'd already moved it. My stomach fell out. The PDF showed Clark, in his own words, reframing timelines to reduce perceived risk, which is fancy for lying about when things happen so he could own a fire he actually started. There was also a DM where he told a junior, if they ask, say legal slowed it down. Legal had it. He had. Legal is a magic word people hide behind. It works until someone asks legal. Maya responded within 5 minutes. Received. Thank you. 10 minutes later, can you join? Not a question when phrased like that. The interim lead messaged me, did you forward the escalation doc internally? Yes. Intentional? No, he paused then, good. And suddenly the room had windows. Compliance traced the timestamps. The ropes were neat and tied to Clark's own anchor points. 2 hours later leadership announced a realignment. Clark was out, effective immediately. Third blast, courtesy of my finger trained to save everything. I didn't cheer. I felt a little sick. Accidental forwards aren't noble swords. But sometimes change trips on clumsy feet. People flooded my inbox with whispers. Are you okay? You didn't deserve that. We all knew. My group chat split like a jury. One friend, you did the right thing. Another, you burned it down because you wanted out. Both can be true. I wanted out without the shame of saying it out loud. I wanted someone else to pull the alarm so I could tell myself I just followed the crowd. That's the ugliest part to admit. I walked until humidity glued my hair to my neck. I replayed the COO's question, who owns this? And my fast answer. Pride, sure, but also a reflex sharpened by surviving a guy who cups other people's fireflies like trophies. I sat on a curb outside a deli watching sweating soda bottles and called my sister. She's my ethicist. I dumped the whole story. She let silence do its job and then said, "You didn't end their careers. You stopped cushioning their landings." I said I forwarded a doc by accident. She said, "If daylight kills something, that's on the thing." And because this is the part everyone argues about, yes, I thought about getting sued. I didn't blast anything public. I shared original materials with the paying client who asked, and I routed other documents to internal compliance on request. No press, no tweets. I used the doors everyone pretends exist and hopes no one opens. I should also admit I answered when Leon called that night from my personal phone. He started with, "You misunderstood the deck," and slid into, "That's how the industry works." Then the threat disguised as advice. "If you push this, you'll be radioactive. No one will touch you." I felt that old reflex yawning awake, the one that wants to placate the person who trained me to survive him. He dangled a strong reference if I stood down. I told him he'd already drafted a weak one. Silence stretched. "I was calibrating," he said. "With who?" "Doesn't matter," he said, meaning he'd use whoever's left. I hung up and blocked him, not out of sainthood, but because I don't trust myself around people I spent too long adapting to. Next morning I wrote my resignation in 2 sentences and sent it to the interim lead in HR. No offer in hand yet. I hadn't said yes to Rhea. I thought about staying to fix the culture. That sounded like volunteering to mop a thunderstorm. My apartment smelled like last night's takeout. My phone buzzed. "Timing?" Rhea asked. "Considering new things," I wrote. We talked. She sent an offer later. Less money, cleaner air. Clean beats generous when you're bone tired. Before walking out, I asked Maya if I could give feedback. "People don't escalate because they think nothing happens," I said. She nodded. "When something finally happens, more than one person falls because everyone tied themselves to a bad idea with pretty words." Another nod. "And maybe retire calibration," I added. "It's a word that sanitizes cruelty." She said she'd consider it. Who knows? Coffee with June a week later. Her analyst's transfer got approved retroactively, with backdated level adjustments. Bureaucracy speak for, "You were right before we allowed you to be right." She looked lighter. "Heard you're leaving," she said. "You're not running?" "I'm walking too," I said. Cheesy true. I'm not here to gloat about 3 nukes. I'm tired. I don't want a medal for tripping over the truth holding a stack of files. I'm not a saint either. I pressed send because I wanted safety and I wanted my name on my work. I got both and lost the illusion it would feel clean. People I liked got swept into the blast radius. A junior who adored Clark messaged me. He wrote my first reference. I don't know what to think. I told her 2 things can sit together. He helped and he harmed. I still hear the COO's voice. "Who owns this?" It's simple and cuts carpet. I used to give away ownership because I thought it was polite. Polite is how your work leaves the building wearing someone else's name tag. Leon sent a company-wide goodbye the next week. After much reflection, new challenges, mentors and ments in the same breath like we were interchangeable props. He didn't mention me. He referred to the pilot as our team's proof point. Finance friend said a quiet settlement slid across a table. I don't want to know the number. I don't have room for that brand of bitterness. The head of people posted a beach photo with a caption about chapters. Clark's profile flipped to consultant, which is the couch you fall onto when you can't admit you're on the floor. I've napped on that couch. I get it. I start with Rhea next month. She sent a list of projects and a line. "We'll put your name on your work." I printed it and taped it inside a notebook, not to worship it, but to remember what standard to demand. Before I boxed up the last of my desk, I opened the draft of my lukewarm reference and replaced my name with Leon's. Wrote it clean, high output, struggles with credit ethics, excels at visibility, needs oversight for integrity. I didn't send it. I saved it in a private folder, not as a weapon but as a small, true relic. Negative examples grow spines too. If you've read this far, you probably want a verdict. ITA for blowing up 3 careers? I can live with maybe. I pulled a pin and pretended the grenade would sort itself out, and I also did the thing people say they'll do and then go quiet on. Both are true. If you were in my shoes, would you have done it differently? Honest verdicts welcome. I can take it.